We're getting into 6.4, which is dealing with polynomials with more than just x's. So x's and y's, or x's and m's, or m's and n's. So dealing with multiple variables. And a lot of people tend to get overwhelmed by that, but I want you guys to not freak out about it. So if I have 3 times x times y squared. Okay, so if I have 3 times x times y squared, are those little times dots actually necessary? Is 3x the same thing as 3 times x? No, thank you. What do you think? Is 3x the same as 3 times x? Yeah, that's the same thing. So this is really just 3xy squared. So what I want you to understand with this one is not only when we have it 3xy squared, it's just 3 times x times y squared. And if we're multiplying, moving into number 2, if we're multiplying, we can multiply in any order, if that's all we're doing. As long as we don't have any pluses or minuses taking place in there, David, you with us? Then we can do this in any order, which means I can rewrite this as 7 times 5 times x squared times x times y times y. And then I can shorten that and simplify it. What is 7 times 5? 35. What is x squared times x? X to the power of 3. So x to the third. And then what's y times y? Y squared. So that's our simplified version of this. Now, number 3, can you combine, or add, more specifically, 3xy and xy? TJ, you're saying yes. Why are you saying that?
Because your variables are the same.
Your variables are exactly the same. Nothing is squared, nothing is different. We have xy and xy. So if I have 3xy, and what is this? What's the number of this? 1xy. How many total xy's do I have? 4. And finally, is 4x squared y the same thing as 4yx squared? Think about what we did in number 1 and number 2. Jake? So if we're looking at these two, this is 4 times x squared times y. This is 4 times y times x squared. Because all we're doing is multiplying within those terms, we can reorder those. It's okay to. So this can just as easily be written as 4 times x squared times y, which means, yes, they are the same thing. So you have to pay close attention when we're dealing with multiple variables. You have to pay close attention to the fact that squareds have to go with squareds. It has to be y squareds with y squareds. It has to be xy squareds with xy squareds. So there's going to be a lot of little details that we're going to get into today. The first part of what we're going to do here is called evaluating a polynomial, which we've done. We did this a while ago, but we didn't have more than one variable. So when I evaluate, and I know a value for my variable, what do I do? How do I find my overall value? So I am going to substitute my values. X equals -2, and y equals 3. So how would I rewrite this first part? -2 to the third, 3 for y. Jake, you with us? Drop down my plus sign. -2 for x. 3 squared. So I just put in the 3 for the y and then brought down the squared. Plus 7. What am I putting in? -2. And then drop down -3. Sorry. So when I look at the exponents, negative 2 to the third power is negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. So what is that? Positive or negative 8? Negative 8, because it's 3 negatives. So I'm going to drop down this 2, rewrite negative 2 to the third power as negative 8, drop down my 3, and I'm keeping all this in parentheses so that I know I'm multiplying and I don't get them smushed into one number. Drop down my negative 2 here. What's 3 to the second power? 9. So I'm rewriting that as 9. And then I'm just going to drop everything down for this step. So in my order of operations, I've got parentheses, which we didn't have any operations going on in the parentheses. Then we did the exponents. Then what? Multiplication or division, whichever comes first, left to right. I'm not dividing anything, so I'm just going to do all my multiplications. Now, how do I do this multiplication? 2 times negative 8 times 3. Micah? How do I do that multiplication? So, one of the things that came up is a really, really common mistake, and that's to distribute 2 times negative 8 and 2 times 3. That would be if I had parentheses and I was adding them. But really, all I need to do is 2 times negative 8, which is what? Negative 16 times 3. So in the calculator, this is when I'm only multiplying, I'm just going to do 2 times negative 8 times 3. Straight across. And that gives me negative 48. So I've got negative 48. Drop down my plus sign. What's negative 2 times 9? Negative 18. Drop down my plus sign. What's 7 times negative 2? Negative 14. Drop down, minus 3. So I wouldn't necessarily write down the next line, but if I'm adding the negative, what's that the same thing as doing? Subtracting. So this is really just negative 48, minus 18, minus 14, minus 3. And I would just plop all that in my calculator. I'm going to get a very, very negative number because I'm taking away from negative, so I'm going further negative. So negative 48, minus 18, minus 14, minus 3. That would be the same thing if I did negative 48 plus negative 18 plus negative 14 minus 3. I would get exactly the same thing. So my answer here is negative 83.